Good evening and welcome to Freewheeling once again. I am Siddharth Vinayak Partnerkar and we have another exciting show lined up for you. Yes, we took a bit of a break, didn't we? It's been a few days since I brought you a fresh episode with a fresh guest, and it doesn't come more fresh-faced than our guest today. In fact, he's someone who we have been extremely fond of, very, very close to all of us here at carandbike for many, many reasons. And you know what? It's not just because of his appearances on the show or for all the things he's done for us on the show, but it's also because of just who he is as a person. And so it gives me great pleasure to welcome my guest today. And it is none other than Aditya Patel. Aditya, hi.
Hi, Sid. Thanks for the warm welcome.
No, I think I should be the one thanking you for being here on the show. I for some reason I'm still not seeing the live comments coming through just yet, but I know that we'll start to get a lot of people soon enough. So let me just turn that off and maybe turn it back on again before we proceed. Because the idea, of course, of this show, as you know already, since you have guest starred on the show before, is that we want to take a lot of questions from people because people will have lots of things to ask you, and so
Sure.
your fans, CNB fans, guys, remember, lots of questions are welcome, and Aditya is
Yeah.
ready and willing. Let's just say.
I was actually just about to drop when you called. I was just about to drop a last minute reminder on Instagram, and I'm wondering whether I should do that
You can
or
do that now. This is
yeah.
extremely informal. It's like we're chatting in a living room.
I know. It's just
So
a random chat that we're having.
very random. So please go ahead. I will wait.
Do you even have questions with you?
Do I have questions in my head or like with other people?
I guess you do have the questions in your head.
I have
I
something in
must
my
have.
head. Let's hope.
Oh, I have to now hunt for this now, is it?
Okay, so why don't we give people a little bit of a primer while you hunt? I will, let
Yeah.
me go ahead and sort of play out one of the cool videos that we have. Hopefully they're cool, where it shows some of our past association.
Ready. Posted.
Okay, so posted.
Yep.
Okay, so welcome again, Aditya. And like I said, lots of people are saying hello to you. It's a long time since there was a session, says Auto DNA. Tell us more about X1 racing. Already comes the first question. So we'll get to X1 racing. But first
Yeah.
things first, Aditya, the last few days, crazy. And what's it been like for you? And, what have you been up to at home?
I guess it started off pretty much like for everyone else, suddenly finding yourself locked at home. Every time you step out, it seems like it's a zombie apocalypse. You're wearing a mask, and people even within their own homes, within their own compounds, are walking around in masks. So, in the beginning, I think it took a bit of time to get used to, but I guess I've been seeing a lot of people and a lot of my friends and me myself. We've been finding things to keep us busy, finding ways to keep us busy. So apart from learning how to cook, doing some exercises every now and then, learning new workouts, you're seeing them all over social media.
Yeah.
Also trying to keep business running, up and running. So doing different things, trying to innovate with the times, doing some online races instead of offline, and planning races for the future, doing races every weekend. So yeah, actually trying to keep myself busy in many different ways. Lots of live chats, but this one seems to be the most interesting because it's on YouTube. And obviously, you have your unique ways of doing things. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
That's a very polite way of saying God knows what. So, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up. And then maybe you can judge at the end if it was interesting.
Something like that,
Or
yeah.
good, interesting. So before I get to the obvious question, cooking, what have you learned to cook or what have you mastered?
But let me put it this way. I've learned to cook many things. I haven't really cooked them. My dad's been the one who's been doing cooking.
So shameless.
Yeah, so The funny thing is, my parents managed to get their hands on an instant pot.
Mm.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's one of those devices that you put in the kitchen and it literally cooks whatever you want it to cook and in like a short period of time. So I've been learning different recipes just looking at them cook. There's been biryani, there's been chicken curry, there's been another biryani, there's been another type of curry. So there's been lots of different kinds of food that's been made in the instant pot. Then different pastas. The only thing I cooked was actually some Mediterranean food. We made pita bread at home. We made
Nice.
chicken kebabs along with it. So yeah, I mean, every day I've actually eaten so much different food in the last 45 days than I have actually before that at home. Usually at home it's the same dal and mixed vegetables
I
and
can.
chapati and rice, but the last few 45 days have been a lot of variations, and from what I hear, it's the same with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I can totally relate to that. That I think we've done the most variety ever at
Yeah,
home in the last few days, and lots of
yeah.
experimenting. So can't complain at all. Now, a few months ago, not just years ago, if I had suggested online racing to you, you would have probably just been like, "Oh, that's just sad." But now it's ironic how after the initial days where you had absolutely nothing to do with your day job, when you chanced upon this and discovered it and it became a thing, I remember the smile that I saw on your face. Now it's something that truly excites you.
Yeah, it is. Because the thing with online racing, I realized after starting to do it, you can do so much. You can actually throw in so many formats into motorsport. You can make it a lot more action-packed without having to worry too much about the safety of the drivers because they're actually sitting at home. So there's less chance of injury. You can do things that you would normally not imagine that you can do in real life in terms of the way you put the kind of cars you put on the grid, the number of cars you put on the grid, and even having gamers race against real race drivers who are at the top of their game. So, and everyone's enjoying themselves. We're all on a WhatsApp group, and it's funny that even during the race, you have people sending voice messages saying, "Oh, this guy did this and that guy did that." So it keeps everybody entertained and everybody on their toes. And you're right, actually. A few months ago, I would have never looked at it the way I look at it now. When we started doing it in March, soon after the lockdown happened, it was something that we were always a little skeptical about. We wanted to actually do it in July, see how it goes, kind of dip our feet in the water because we know esports is growing, and we just didn't expect it to grow the way it grew in the last 45 days. And now we've kind of found ourselves stuck in the middle of it, doing events every weekend. We've got some specials coming up this week. We did a charity event a couple of weeks ago. So we're still trying to find our way in this entire world of esports. We're learning a lot. The amount we're learning literally every week is crazy. And what I find really interesting and impressive, and I kind of have to give my entire team a pat on the back for that, is we actually have no equipment.
Hmm.
We got into this lockdown and there was no way we could buy anything, right? Because nobody's selling anything. All the shops are closed. You can't go to a hardware store. You can't buy anything on Amazon. So we really had to like call people and use whatever resources we could between just the four of us and put things together, and we got it off the ground. So all that said, I think it's going pretty well.
Okay, so in this crazy scenario, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is about how you keep connected with the things that otherwise you would be doing. So that brings me to how do you keep the interest going when it's X1 racing? What about some of the other formats that you continue to look at as a professional racer? So what part of that are you still keeping yourself busy with, connected with, and almost prepared for, let's say?
Oh, I guess through esports, you're kind of always connected in some form. I managed to get myself a simulator rig to put at home with a PlayStation, so it
Which you've
keeps me
kind of
also.
done yourself, right?
Sorry?
That you've kind of done yourself in the sense you've come up
Yeah,
with,
I
you
mean,
built it
I
yourself.
had a few lying around in the office, which is right next door. So
That helps.
I brought it in, put it together, connected things, and then just all I needed was a PlayStation,
Hmm.
which was the missing piece to the puzzle, and made a few phone calls, found out there was a guy nearby who had one, and picked that up, and yeah, keeps me busy at night. Every night after dinner, we're on a WhatsApp group. We're like, game anybody? And that's it. Five, six of us racing around the track every night. So it's good fun, but obviously I don't have the time to take part in the events and the races because I'm actually hosting it
Yeah.
and doing the commentary and things like that. But again, I'm honestly really impressed by the way esports is going. It's something that I didn't ever think will keep me this busy. So going back to your question, when you asked me about all the other stuff that I would normally be doing, uh, I did have a few plans with motorsport before the lockdown happened, but then again, everybody went quiet. So there's really nothing you can do. There's, to an extent, you could sit at home and try to push it, but after a point, that you're not really getting anywhere. And with X1 racing, obviously, we still continue to plan on the side. And since esports has taken a big part and a big role, we are integrating it as well. So it does go hand in hand, and kind of if we're doing esports to an extent, we're doing X1 racing as well. So it's just that none of us really know how things, what the new normal is going to be now after things start to ease off. You know, are you really going to be able to go sit in a theater very easily, or can you share equipment? If we go set up like our equipment in different malls and colleges, can people come and play? Or what kind of equipment do you need to have? Do you need to have sanitizers? Do you need to have things to wash people down? You know, we really don't know. We just have to wait and watch and see how things go.
So lots of interesting questions coming up, and so even though I have lots of questions to ask you, you will not miss these. Auto DNA is asking, do you play NFS or Asphalt or Forza? And Chetan says, my first game on the PC was Road Rash.
I think that was almost everybody's first
What's
game
your
at some
first
point.
ever racing game played on a PC?
First ever racing game on a PC? Ooh, I can't remember.
I can't remember
I
either. Yeah.
Yeah, because after PlayStation actually came about in the year 2000, I stopped using my PC. But I remember playing games like Ninja Turtles, NBA. They had all these games on PC back then,
Yeah.
and those are the games I remember playing. But no racing games. And to answer the other one, I don't play NFS or
NFS started
Forza.
on a PC though, right? NFS I think did start on PC
That did it?
because that rings a
How-
bell for me. Because I never
It was
had
the
any of the consoles, but I remember playing NFS.
hmm,
So
maybe it did.
maybe I'm mixing
Because
it up.
I remember playing it on the first version of the PlayStation.
Huh.
But
And how far things have come, right? Like in terms of graphics, in
it's
terms of
crazy.
just the detail. It's amazing.
Yeah. Remember that 2D racing game where you'd watch the car from the top and you'd be moving across lanes?
Yeah, yeah.
I was looking at that recently and really fascinated by it
That's
because we
like
used to think that that's great stuff.
yeah, that's now when you look at it, it's like as archaic as Tetris. Like it feels that
Yeah.
ancient, you know. It feels that rudimentary and basic. Like those games
Yeah.
where you had that spaceship and you'd be, shooting aliens. It was like that game.
Exactly. And
So
now if you play a game and you try and compare the graphics to real life, you just can't see the difference. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, especially because of the real life locations as well that they picked.
Hmm.
Tell me, virtual world, what's your favorite track, and real world, what's your favorite track to drive on?
So real world, it's the notch life. Virtual world, I hate it. I just can't drive around the notch life in the virtual world. And but I think favorite circuit in the virtual world would be Barcelona, Catalonia,
Which you've spent a lot of time at.
which I have also spent a lot of time at, and I somehow seem to just quickly get the hang of it when I get into a game and drive around at Catalonia. But Gran Turismo, the game that I play, does have a lot of fantasy circuits,
Hmm.
and there are some interesting ones, but I've only had the game a couple of weeks, and it's quite frustrating when you're trying to catch the guys who've been playing for years, and you feel like you've done everything right, and you're still like a couple of seconds off. And you just wonder what more do you need to do. But and sometimes I call these guys and I ask them, what are you doing? How do I find these 2 seconds? And they're like, don't worry, it'll come to you. But when? you know, I
And
can't
these
sit and
guys,
be going
but
around.
but these guys are actual racers, or they're also like just
No,
e-racers.
just gamers, just
Wow,
e-racers. Yeah. And they've got like good setups at home with steering wheels and seats and everything.
wow, that's
And the funny
that
part is
says
some of them
something.
don't even drive cars in real life.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing. If that's how fast they
Maybe.
are, maybe that's a good thing.
But don't want to put them in a car and find out.
Not in real traffic, no. Okay, so lots of people still saying hi to you. So
Mhm.
you might want
Hi
to,
back.
yeah.
Everyone.
And what about the Xbox? Was another follow-up question.
I actually used to have an Xbox at some point, but I think as far as a gamer market in India goes, it's still not as big as the PlayStation, which is why we're targeting PlayStation users right now. a lot more than Xbox, but obviously we do want to expand. So for now, when we conduct our online games, we focus on PC and PlayStation. And I think what kind of sets us apart from what everyone else is doing is the variations between the games that we use. So we keep varying every weekend. We try different games, we try different formats. He's taking a picture of me.
Oh, come on, then hang on. If you're going to pose, then I was trying to do it as
I saw you
surreptitiously
trying
as
to do it on the
possible.
slide.
Okay, so I'll do it properly now. Come on, give me that peace sign of yours. Okay, I think it's blurry
That's
after
okay.
all that. I was trying to take one for
Camera
Insta.
screen never works.
No, you know what? I've been pretty successful with it so far. Okay, one more try, because it won't be fair to put up a
Still
blurry
the peace
picture.
sign, maybe two.
Hang on, two. I'll have to put you back onto full frame, so then
Oh,
it
okay,
won't
okay.
you won't be able to see both of us. Uh, okay, say cheese.
Cheese.
Okay, now I shall be the one doing the posting like you were doing, but okay, we've kind of I had a certain structure in mind. Of course, that never happens on this show. So
Yeah,
tell me
I
this.
can imagine.
So is that your setup at the back, by the way? What we see, the TV back there, is that where you play, or is?
No, actually, I haven't set it up in my room because I know if I do, it'll be disaster.
Hmm.
I'll have nights where I just won't sleep. So I've actually set it up in the guest room because you won't have any guests for a long time, and
Yeah.
that's actually just my regular TV. So watch a couple of shows before I sleep, and yeah, so I'm keeping that setup far away from my bedroom.
Um, what is that back there, by the way? I can see a whole bunch of stuff. There's some interesting
But
pictures as well.
yeah, there's pictures, and I think we have a guest.
Care to
Who is it?
share? Oh,
Ah,
hello, hello, hello,
hi,
hello.
hi.
And
How
look
are
who
you
it
feeling the
is.
haircut?
It's
I had one just now.
How have you had a haircut? Please tell me.
My wife gave me with this trimmer with the beard.
How are you doing? It's great to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. It's this, of course, for those who don't know. Actually, I should put you guys on full frame so we can see him a little bit better. That is Kamlesh Patel, Aditya's
Right.
dad, and the original Patel friend. I can quote actually. Also, the original CNB juror. You came
Yeah, you
later,
met him
right?
first, no,
Yeah.
Kumari?
Yes, yes, very much. Um, in fact, I think it was way back. It was 2008 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, but
Yeah.
it's great to see. How are you keeping yourself busy
Good, good. Very
and
good.
ensuring that this one doesn't get up to anything he shouldn't be.
He is under total lockdown. He's learning how to cook, if you please.
Learning, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not cooking, but I'm learning.
But he's not subjected you to any of it. I have been told. So
So
Not yet.
we have still few days to go, so might as well stay fit, not get stomach upsets and stuff.
okay, I'm going to add your caption here. Uh, okay, so what's your routine looking like these days, Kamlesh?
I am doing nothing, just enjoying myself, doing
I like
nothing.
that. That's a good philosophy.
Yeah, enough. 40 years of work is enough.
But I bet you are looking forward to an easing of the lockdown. I don't think any of our cities are opening up anytime soon. So
Yeah,
I know we'll have the Prime Minister addressing us tonight. So let's see what happens.
I'm waiting to hit the road again on my bicycle. That's all.
I thought you were going to say that now finally you do want to get back to a track.
That, of course, but it looks very bleak. The future of the track.
So let's be realistic
He
and
can
just
start
talk
playing on
about.
the game. He can start playing on the
Has
sim
he
downstairs.
has he
Yeah,
tried that? Has he?
yeah, of course.
And Aditya's not saying anything.
Maybe when I wasn't watching.
No,
He's
no,
not.
I've tried it, but not very
Yeah, he's
successfully.
not
So
giving you much credit also here. So I think you need to, in fact, do it while he's not looking, and
he
then.
he takes all the credit for himself only, always.
Not really.
No, but
Anyway, so I'll leave you to your interview.
it's great to see you.
Yeah, we'll catch up sometime.
Yep. Look
See you
forward.
soon.
See
Yep,
you. Take
bye.
care.
Bye.
That was a nice surprise. Aditya's dad, of course, like I said, has been with us on the CNB jury. So even though we had started talking about something else, let's segue into that jury conversation.
Yeah,
You
so I
have.
should go bring you what I have
Oh,
there.
that's right. Actually, get that. Get
Yeah.
that. Then we'll.
So I think what you're seeing is this. It's a little memento that I got from Audi.
Okay. Yeah, that is nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So this is from when? What year?
So this actually was the first time I drove one of these cars. This was 2012.
So this is the
And-
European series.
Yeah, so this is just after I had done the Nürburgring race, the 24-hour race. So Audi had given me a test drive in one of these. And just post that test drive, it was also a customer driving experience at the Nürburgring. And when they were giving the customers their mementos, they gave me one of these and said, "Here you go. This one's for you."
That's
and this
very
was
nice.
basically the same color of the car that I drove. So
So even better, even more special.
Yeah.
Show it to us from the front. That looks nice and mean.
yeah,
Wow. And that was when the association started. But then you, of
Pretty
course,
much.
went on to formally race for Audi's teams, isn't it? As in
Yep.
associated teams.
yep.
So,
I raced this was 2012. So since then, raced with a lot of teams, different countries, different circuits. So been quite lucky that way.
and the most significant for you?
2017, I did a championship called the Blancpain GT Series in Asia.
Yeah.
With an Asian team called Absolute Racing with OD Racing, and that was the most successful year. Didn't win the championship, lost it by a point, but was a great year. Had a great team owner, great teammate, so super fun to be a part of.
I'm actually putting some of those pictures up. There's a picture of you with your teammate, car number 86, I guess, was you?
Yeah.
So that's Mitch Gilbert and you.
Yeah.
And so what was that experience like? Where did you race? This, of course, says Sepang, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I can't see the picture, but we raced in many different countries. We raced in China, we raced in Malaysia, Japan, Korea. Korea is one of the circuits I really hated. Couple of races in China, and I think I'm missing something else. But
I was supposed to come watch you race in China. I
Uh,
remember one time, and I didn't get the visa. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered that, by the way. I'd forgotten about it.
Which circuit was that? I can't remember which circuit that was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it
a good
China?
question. It was China. I remember because I didn't get the visa.
Yeah,
And,
so it had to be China.
yeah, so it had to be China. And there's a picture of you and Mitch together as well, looking like good boys, with the Japanese flag in the back. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a thing. And then, of course, there's the picture of you in Sepang on the podium, 2017.
Yeah.
So
So
that-
we won the first race of that particular championship. So Blancpain was GT series are a very exclusive, very prestigious series in Europe, and they introduced it in Asia. And Mitch contacted me. He said, would you like to be a part of this? And Audi India obviously being a big part of your career, I think it would be great if we do it together. So we put a team together, Mitch and I got Audi India involved. And we took it from there and we won the first race. So I think everybody was really happy. And I think that's the picture you're looking at. The first ever Blancpain Asia win was ours.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. I remember trying to reach you that day and try and speak with you, but then finally we got each other on messaging at least. It was really special. There's a picture of this yellow Swift as well. What is that? Tell me that, because it's got the same OD Racing.
Racing.
Yeah.
So it's a funny story. So the team owner of 4D Racing, he's a really enthusiastic guy. He loves motorsport. Doesn't matter what car it is. His name is Cornelius. He's a young guy, great fun. He's actually my age. So he actually called me one year. He said, we're going to do this race called the Sepang 1000 kilometers. And it's an endurance race. I want Mitch and you to do it. So each of you will have to drive 500 kilometers. And I said, yeah, sure. It doesn't sound easy, but what car are we talking here? And he said, it's a Swift, mate. I was like, okay, why not? I mean, I love it. As long as it's a car, it's going to be good fun. So I said, yeah, I'll be there. And I took a flight and I landed in Malaysia. And then he called me again the second year. And that year I actually made a complete blunder of it. So I'd applied for my visa. I'd given my passport to my agent, everything to do it really quickly. But I was also super preoccupied with X1. This was last year. Just before, a month before the X1 Racing League. So my mind was there and I'm going to do this race over here in Malaysia. So there's a lot going on. I get my visa. I land up at the airport at 2 a.m. for my flight. And then they say, oh, you can't board your flight. And I was like, what did I do wrong now? And then, so basically I submitted my old passport.
Oh.
Yeah. and they issued my visa for my old passport.
Yeah, the number was the wrong one.
Yeah, the number was the wrong one. So I had to go back, and I somehow managed to get a visa the next day, and then I flew back to Malaysia. So I missed practice, and I went straight into qualifying.
And how did you do?
Not too bad. I matched Mitch's time, so Mitch wasn't very happy. He's like, "Oh, that's because I'm fat." Typical Australian answer.
No, but that just shows you how sometimes even at the consulates and embassies these guys work, right? Like they should have caught that it's an
Yeah,
expired passport that you've been handed.
yeah.
But
I was surprised because the date is there. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
obviously it's my fault to start with, but I would have imagined that they would have told me, and this happened a week before
exactly.
I took the flight. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've all done stupid things with visas. I've
yeah,
missed a couple
you
of
live
trips
in.
because I remember not being able to come to Lahore one time because my passport was lying at the Thailand embassy. They just wouldn't issue
Uh,
the visa. They wouldn't give it back. And I thought I'd done it with like 20 days to spare because there's enough time. And
hmm,
it was for the GLA adventure. And
okay.
so, I had to get it. And then
Yeah.
finally, everybody started freaking out. The folks at Audi started freaking out, saying, listen, we really need you to come for this and don't cancel. And so I got that process stopped, got the passport out, and yet they gave it to me the night after the flight had left. So neither did I get the Thai visa, nor did I go
And you
to,
didn't get.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, and
I
that was
mean,
the
we all
last
have our
year.
passport stories. So
Yeah, that was the last year Audi was at Le Mans, so that kind of
yeah,
made it
yeah.
sad that I missed it. But anyway, let me
I
not
remember
talk.
that. I remember being at that race. I think that was the one that was it Toyota that almost won. They
Yeah,
crossed the line, and then the car stopped on the last lap, and Porsche won that race.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
In fact, that's because the Audis had also crashed. I think two of the Audis had crashed.
yeah. I think but
So
they were really quick early on. Yeah, I remember
they had a bad last race. But
they did.
anyway, and the Toyotas had just heartbreak, I think, that year.
I know.
But at Le Mans actually is where you, amongst other places, have actually anchored the car and bike show. You're one of the few people who has that, shall I call it distinction, privilege.
You could, yeah, yeah. You could. How many other people have done it though?
It's probably just you, Karun, and Gul,
Oh yeah.
and maybe one or two more. Like I remember this one time, Peter Crunchnable from BMW, when he was new to
Okay.
India, we threw him
Hmm.
this challenge of doing it, and he actually accepted, and he did it in Munich in the middle of snow and
Okay.
everything. So I
Uh-huh.
think he was the first one to do it, and then I think you're the one who's done it the most because you've done the jury meets episode and the awards
Yeah.
episode. You've done Le Mans, like I said, and then last year you did one too.
I did one last year.
I
I think
think
last year's
X1.
was the toughest because I had to queue different segments.
You were doing the actual show. You were not just doing the
Yeah, I
jury
was doing
meet
the actual
special
show.
or the Le Mans
Exactly.
special.
So then, and this one, and you didn't tell me about this. You landed up there
I was
at
just
the
like, you got
track
to
and you
do
said,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
know that
there.
about me, I think. So, no real surprise
Yeah,
there. But
I'm used to it.
you're used to it. No, but okay. Not to be unfair to everyone, Naman has a question for you. He says, "Have you ever driven the Nissan GTR on a track? If yes, what was the experience like? If not, is that something you'd like to do after the lockdown?" I know you've done it at the jury meet actually.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, so there you go. That's the answer. Yeah, I've driven a
let me
few
play
actually.
that. Yeah.
But the first time my mind was blown because as a child, it was one of those cars that I was a dream car and I always wanted to drive it. And this was, I think, the first one I drove. It belonged to this actor Chaitanya Akineni from Hyderabad. So he's Nagarjuna's son. And so he actually said, why don't you drive my car and show me how to drive it around the track? And I was like, okay, I've never driven one of these, but it's a dream come true, so I'm going to say yes. And yeah, loved it. It was a great experience. And after that, I've driven quite a few GTRs around the circuit.
Yeah, we've got footage of you now driving one around BIC.
Oh, is
Uh,
it? Okay.
BIC itself, special track for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, never really imagined that we'd see something like that in India. So for all of us to have the opportunity to have driven so many different vehicles around it, I think is
Yeah,
special.
yeah. What's that experience been like for you when it comes to our jury meet? Because every other time when you're doing something, it's very focused on either one car or one activity, one brand, whatever. But like you said, this is the one experience where you've got everything from a tiny entry hatchback. I remember what you guys did to the Honda Brio, and all good. I mean, it was a good thing. You showed us what you can do with the Honda Brio. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And then you've got the high end stuff. Obviously, the sports cars even that have shown up. We've had Lamborghinis and we've had the GTR and Ferrari as well one year. So So yeah, what's that experience been like for you?
I think that's one experience I always look forward to is the jury meet. Obviously, the main reason is the Domino's pizza for lunch. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just to be at the track with all you guys. We've had Karun there, Reo there, Gul, and everybody kind of just sitting together every hour and throwing their ideas across based on the cars they've driven. It was always really fascinating for me, and especially when I started, because I'd never really been. I'll always travel to a lot of events with you guys, but I'd never sat around a table and discussed the various differences in cars. And that's when I started to realize, oh yeah, okay, it makes sense because that that car versus that car, which is in the same category, has so many differences that you'd normally really not pick out. But when you hear different people talk about it, it starts to suddenly strike you. And then every time you get into another car, you start noticing these things. So I think that's what I really, really liked about the jury meet. And I'm really looking forward to another one soon.
Okay, there's a very interesting question from our friend Ameya. So let me quickly bring that in. It says, when you started racing, I remember on the Kari Motor Speedway, your helmet had a Bugs Bunny sticker on it. Would love to know the story behind that. Is it still part of your helmet decor? Was that you?
It's not on my new helmet, but the
Okay.
story is.
You
It's
didn't
not
say
on
anything
my
for a second. So I was like, was that you? Was it somebody else?
It was me. It was me. Which Amir is this?
Our Ameya, Naik.
Oh, you're Amir. Yeah.
Ah.
I mean, there's a few. There's been Amirs who's
Oh,
who've
that's
been behind
right.
me
That's right.
watching the Bugs Bunny for a whole race. So in a go-kart. But the story is, yeah, in my teeth, really.
Okay.
Big teeth. And people used to call me Bugs right through my schooling years.
So I actually
So,
have a picture of your first go-kart race that you sent
uh-huh.
me. So
Yeah.
when was this? How old are you in this pic?
This was the year 2000. I was just about to turn 12. I was still 11 years old at that time during that picture. So, yeah, my first go-kart race was good fun, actually. I remember we used to go to the go-kart track as a group of friends, just simply drive around on weekends, have fun. Arman used to be there as well, a bunch of other friends. And it was one of those activities that, we chose karting over bowling or karting over going to the video game arcade at that time in the year 2000. And then this was actually when that go-kart track kind of held its first racing event for their customers, so to say.
Okay, I'm going to ask the audience watching right now a very simple question. Doesn't he look the same? I mean, it's unmistakably you. Of course, it's you as a kid,
Maybe you
but
should ask them how old they think I am now that I've given a clue anyway.
okay. Yeah, I mean, you kind of, I don't think it needs serious math. You've pretty much told us what year and how old you were.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if people don't get it now, okay, so guys, my question was, doesn't that look, I mean, let me put that picture up again so you know what I'm talking about. There. Isn't that just like the same? He looks the same. And the second question was from him, how old do you think he is? So, because the one thing I will say is, except for your stubble that comes and goes and the beard now that comes and goes, you've looked exactly the same since I've met you. If anything, the stubble or the beard makes you look a little older, but yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise you've looked
I'll take that as a
exactly the
compliment.
same. Yeah, you haven't aged one bit. Okay, so there was a nice question from Kushal. He says, what's your advice for the parents of kids and amateurs who are motorsport enthusiasts and maybe want to do what you do?
I would think you should definitely let your kid have a hand at it. If to start with, do it for fun. Just go to a go-kart track nearby. Let your kids drive around. Maybe take their friends also, and just let them have a great time. If they like it, they're gonna want to go back again, and that's a good time to kind of encourage your kid and take your kid back to a go-kart track. And that's when you can really start seriously thinking of probably putting your kid in more racing events. There are opportunities all around the country, but of course, most of the racing events and the racing schools are down south. But I think it has to come from within the child himself or herself. And unless the child wants to do it, there's absolutely no point. It can be the passion of maybe Kushal over there, but if it's not the passion of Kushal's child, if he wants to play tennis or cricket, or if he just wants to learn how to cook, then I think that's what the kid should be doing. But if he keeps bugging Kushal and says, "Daddy, take me to the kart track today. Daddy, take me tomorrow," then make sure you put your kid in a go-kart and and put him in some race cars in the future.
Yeah, I think that's very sound advice, because otherwise you just won't even know, and you could have tremendous amount of talent. The good thing is
Yeah.
that now there is at least some, or let's say there are better channels for that talent, right? I mean, in the past, I think it was much tougher.
It was tough. When I started, obviously the path that my dad chose was he took me to a go-kart track once because these guys were opening the track in the year 2000, and I had driven a go-kart before because I had one, but never really properly, just very slowly in a parking lot. But when I started doing it, it was something that I just wanted to do again and again. Just every weekend I would want to go to that go-kart track, whether I was sick or
Didn't
whether
matter.
it was raining or whatever was wrong. I just had to go to the go-kart track. Nothing would stop me. And that's how I think I kind of then learned from there. My dad didn't tell me that this is the racing line you should take and that's where you should brake and that's how you should turn. He just took me there and said, okay, now drive. And I would come back, look at the lap times, analyze what I did in my own mind, and then go back again and try and better myself. So that's how I kind of approached motorsport in my younger years, and I feel like that's how kids should approach it. It's you shouldn't be straight away put into a racing school where somebody says this is where you should turn and this is where you should accelerate and that's the racing line, because then the kid doesn't understand why that's happening. It's just been told that this is how you do it. So that's why I feel like you need to learn yourself, you need to understand it yourself, and then maybe parents can take the kids to the next level.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. And by the way, lots of guesses coming in, and so I've seen one that says I thought he was 19 or 20. So there's another one who says 34. There's somebody who says 31, and
Who's the one who
then
said 34?
who said 34? I saw that number flashing some time ago. Oh, come on now, I can't find that message. Who said 34, guys? Somebody. And then there was somebody who also said that you still have those teeth, so they can
Yeah.
the Bugs Bunny thing makes sense.
I actually got them shaved a few millimeters.
So they were longer, you mean?
They were longer than, I think it was a couple of millimeters longer than this. And then my dentist kept saying when I was a kid that don't worry, when your face grows, the teeth will get covered. But my face never grew.
Yeah,
So
that's why you look the same.
eventually I got them shaved off.
Yeah, but you look very young. Yeah, lots of people are saying that. So
Yeah. Thank you.
okay, I still can't find who said 34. So whoever said
That's it.
it's Naman who said 34.
I will find Naman.
So oh, so this is about exacting revenge.
I think I'll find Naman and have a chat with him.
Okay, there you go. That's an online threat that's been issued. But yeah, do you want to tell them now how old you are?
I'm 31.
Okay, so
I'll be
31
32 in a
was
couple of months, so.
31 was the right answer.
Yep.
More people saying 21, 22, by the way. So you can be very happy. You can
I'll
go
take
back.
that.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
The other thing that's come out of your association with Audi is that you've of course done a lot of their events here in India. You've also, been, let's say, forced to drive some people around the track. Give them taxi rides. So yeah, as you continue to grin, let me try and find that video and sort of play it.
It's tough when they force you to drive people around the track. It's not something you expect to be doing when you're running, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. It's a job.
So the video is now playing. It's BIC again. We see your fancy yellow helmet. You're suiting up.
Yeah, I know which one you're playing.
Yeah, and it's an S7, I guess, or
RS7, I think.
an
That one is
RS7.
the blue one, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, speeds are about 230, 240, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that when I first started doing events with Audi on the track, if you remember, they brought those white R8s back in the year 2013,
Yeah.
the left-hand drive cars.
Yeah.
I think you had also come for one of those driving experiences. Again, that was something that just like 3-4 years before that, I never imagined myself driving these supercars.
Okay, so Nimrat Kaur now.
In such an age. Who?
Nimrat Kaur.
Oh, Nimrat Kaur.
Yeah.
She was a bit afraid.
And now I think this is Sharmila.
Yeah, Sharmila enjoyed it. She's actually very, very quick when she drives around the track.
Yeah, we can see her kind
I'm
of.
actually very scared to sit next to her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I think I have also sat in the car with her once at an Audi event.
Oh, have you? I
Yeah.
think, yeah, maybe
She
you
knows
did
what she's.
something at the back. She was really good.
That sounds really wrong. Can you please correct yourself?
I mean, you did something in the parking lot with in.
That's even worse.
There was a. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Yeah. No. She was fast on the track. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
But no. But what part of this is a chore and what part of it is actually fun?
Actually, all of it is fun. I think the only chore is when you have to go in the morning and set up the circuit with the cones. Because customers do come to the circuit every event and they've got to drive around the track, but it doesn't make sense when they're driving around the track aimlessly. So you've got to kind of mark out racing lines
Shepherd
for them,
them.
which
Yeah.
yeah, and it makes it much more interesting to drive. So that's the tough part.
I've actually seen
The
you.
rest of it is always fun.
I've actually seen you at a customer event. And I remember being there once where a couple of my friends coincidentally were in that customer event. And they didn't know we knew each other. And they came and
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
like, "Can you
I
get
remember
us
this.
that guy? Because he's really actually much more fun and nice to be with. He's very calm, patient. He explains. We don't know who the other guy. I won't say who the other guy was. But yeah, I remember people saying that. So you do have a good way with people then.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess maybe I do.
You've done one event for us as well, where I remember you had to endure taking random people around the
Oh yeah,
BIC.
yeah.
You've
I
done
remember
that
that.
at our awards.
That was actually during the awards, no?
Yeah,
When we
but
were
there were
taking
all
people
sorts of
around.
people that you took.
Yeah,
There were some
yeah,
special guests, there were contest winners, and of course there were the OEM, the managements from various car
yeah.
makers and bike makers.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that was okay because I was driving them around.
yeah, you were
But it
driving.
really gets tough when they drive you around and you're sitting in the same car.
Hmm.
And particularly when if it's a coaching event and people are there to learn, it's different
Yeah,
because you're then the entire mindset, their
there's an
approach is different.
instruction.
But
Yeah,
if people are there to just come and have like one great lap around BIC and they put behind the wheel and you have to sit next to them, then oh my God,
yeah, because they just go nuts.
it's not pleasant.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing basically, and
Yeah,
they just want to accelerate. So
and make the best of that lap around the BIC.
because it's that one lap, the one chance,
Because yeah, it's that one chance. But as a passenger, that one lap is
it's very scary.
very, very, very scary.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the misfortune of doing that with some people. Not quite as bad as what you've had, obviously,
Mhm.
but yeah, I've had that, and it's not fun. I
Yeah.
can totally relate to that. But tell me this. Now let's talk about X1.
Mhm.
Before I again go back to some of our experiences, but the idea behind it, the timing of it, and whatever experience you had before, of course, everything got locked down.
Hmm. But basically, it was something that Arman and we've been talking about it for a long time. And we'd been traveling together for races also since 2015, 2016, because we were on the same race weekend. So after a point, we said, let's put pen to paper, let's actually make this happen
Hmm.
and see how it goes from there. So actually, what started off as just a battle of the cities kind of format where we had your usual Chennai versus Delhi versus Hyderabad, we started to then innovate. And part of the format was to have men versus women, or men race with women, where unlike other sports, you don't need to have a separate category for women. They can all be part of the same race, same category. It's just one race. So we added that in. Another thing that we really wanted to do was street circuits, but obviously the costs for street circuits are huge, so we kind of deferred that to the future. But the idea was to kind of just spread the awareness of motorsport in the country and make it grow. That's why we got into eSports last year as well, just did offline events to market it, went to different cities where people don't have access to motorsport. So we took simulators to Ahmedabad, we took simulators to Pune, Bombay, different cities, and just anybody and everybody in colleges and malls could come and participate. We'd just go do a setup there for a week and give that opportunity to anyone. And it really gave a lot of people an insight into motorsport. So our idea was to spread the awareness of the sport in the country. While we know a lot of people are aware of motorsport, our target was actually the people who have no clue that there is motorsport in the country. And I think we succeeded fairly well in doing that because based on the viewership numbers and people who attended the event in Delhi and Chennai as well, we were very, very surprised that people who have no connection with the sport whatsoever are actually now coming to watch these events or tuning into these events on TV? Well, basically, really anybody who's a sports fan, people who tune in to watch your NBA, tune in to watch football, uh, people who tune in to watch cricket, but cricket obviously has a very, very cricket-oriented audience, and people who want to be entertained in general, and you need to make sport entertaining. If sport is boring, after a point, people aren't really going to watch it. So we tweaked our formats in a way that we could make it as entertaining as possible for motorsport, but obviously we have to keep in mind safety when it comes to motorsport. So there's many things that you can't do, but there's also many things that you can do. So obviously, just people who want to spend a Sunday evening being entertained by watching something live rather than something that's been produced in advance, or something that's scripted. So it is a huge audience really that you're looking at when it comes to something like this. But again, you're not on free to air TV, you're on pay TV, but I guess there's a lot of audience for a channel like Sony as well. Yeah, when it comes to your point about fresh talent, that's why we did the esports event to a large extent, was to hunt for fresh talent and also to spread awareness. And it was a big marketing tool. But what we found by going to all these cities is that there were a lot of youngsters who were really, really good in terms of their basic understanding of driving around a circuit. And the interesting thing is you can actually find that out through a game, because you still need to understand the physics of a car, the driving dynamics of a car. You need to understand racing lines. You need to understand the basics of motorsport. And every city, it became really, really competitive. We at least had 15, 20 people who you could put even at the world stage, and you'd think that these guys are professionals. So that was very, very encouraging, and it helped us find a lot of talent. And now, actually, when we're doing Ultimate E, a lot of them are a part of it, and it's just mind blowing how good some of them are. So, to an extent, you can say yes, the talent hunt side is working, and where we want to go with it, we do want to continue to build. We want to build an entire motorsport ecosystem around it, around X1 racing, which obviously would mean things like your esports, things like supercar events, your entire automobile community coming together at an event and making it this huge annual special event. So that's how we want to grow it. And we just want this ecosystem of the automobile industry to then move. Electric is not too far. It is in the horizon. And it's something that we do have in mind. And going forward, we're keeping it in mind and ready to do the switch whenever the time is right.
But does that excite you, the switch to electric? Or worry
Honestly,
you?
motorsport just excites me. As long as you can make an exciting format out of it, you lose the noise for sure. And a lot of people will be upset when you lose the noise. But the way things are going with electric mobility, I would say like 5-6 years down the line, it's still going to be very, very exciting. I don't think it's the racing per se is going to lose its excitement, but just to see how far electric mobility has come in the last 5 years, I can imagine the next 5 years it's just going to improve exponentially.
It's still eSports.
It's still eSports, yeah.
Okay, bad one. But you used to my cheesy one-liners or two-liners, because, like I said, we've made you, we've even made you anchor the show a couple of times. So I think we've been able to find some of that footage, because working from home, we don't have access to all of our archives. So let me see if this. Right now, it's you and Arman on stage taking our questions, and I think you interviewed him for CNB about X1. So we're seeing a clip of that.
You put me in a spot there, actually.
Yeah, we pretty much didn't. we pretty much didn't give you a choice.
Yeah, you didn't give me a choice. It was interesting, actually.
Okay, so yeah, you are the anchor here. We are seeing that of the X1 episode, I think, where you guys, we are now seeing you doing the anchor links. So Yeah, I think, it's got to be something that we got used to because, like I said, we made you do this about 4 or 5 times. But what's it been like for you? Do you get reactions from people about when you
Every
show
time you
up?
made me do it, you didn't tell me the previous day. You kind of walked up to me literally 10 minutes before I had to do it and said, "Oh, by the way, this is the plan. Speak to Ameya here. He'll guide you through it and do it. That's it." And then at that stage, I'd usually be like, "Okay." But I mean, I've always enjoyed doing it, which is why I never said no. And you should be afraid that I could take your job away from you one day.
Really? Like that's where you're going to go with this? You know,
We
I
should
was going
actually
to,
host the show someday.
which
We
we've
haven't
done,
done
I
that yet.
guess. No, we haven't
Have
done
we?
it.
No, we haven't.
Oh, you've co-hosted with Gul or somebody else, and not
Yeah. We haven't co-hosted.
done. I thought that at the
Not
Auto Expo one time we had done it. Remember when we had that outdoor studio set, whatever?
Yeah. But was that co-hosting or did you interview me? I thought you interviewed me.
I thought you and Bala were both like on the show co-hosting. I don't remember now. See, it's
I vaguely remember. I
Probably
remember sitting there and
yeah. I think I found a picture from that as well, but never mind. The other thing, of course, was the other, let's say, fun that we had in the recent, past has been the experience where we went ice driving.
oh
So
yeah.
that was always a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
hang on, let me pull that up. Yes, so now we are seeing, I think that's the S5 that we are driving around the frozen lake in Finland.
Yeah.
And that was actually my best performance on ice because till then I used to end up in the snow all the time. I was never the best. But so yeah, I hear this one, of course, I'm talking and you're driving the clip,
Yeah.
which is normal.
But I remember this. Were you there when we did the S5s, the silver cars? This
Yeah.
is the red car, aren't you? Aren't you
No,
looking at
so
the red car?
the red car was the one pilot car, but
Yeah.
we were all driving silver cars. The instructor's car was the
Yeah.
red car. Remember, we went up
I
in the
remember.
chopper
Yeah,
as
that.
well. So we had the aerial shots of the car, and
Yeah.
there was a chopper.
I
Joe
remember
was
that.
the
That
Audi.
wasn't easy. The conditions were pretty bad that year.
First day was really bad because it was all
Yeah.
dreary and murky, and it had snowed that morning. Second day was nice and sunny, but the first day
It was nice and.
was bad.
Do you remember the ice the picture that we got of the ice crystals?
Yes. That was on
That
the
was a
roof of
good.
the red car because I think we were anchoring or co-anchoring or something at that
Yeah.
point, or we were just talking about or is interviewing you. I think you were doing a segment on oversteer and understeer for us.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you were doing that and I was busy taking pictures.
And that day was really cold. It was at minus 27 degrees
Yeah, it
or
was
something.
crazy.
So that's why the crystals didn't melt.
You could see each snowflake. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
believe with the naked eye you could see snowflakes, but they were just
It's like
beautiful, the
exactly.
patterns.
It's like you see in the cartoons these snowflakes falling from the sky. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was incredible.
So-
I have those pictures somewhere. I have to find them. No, but ice driving, the first time you did it, and then the exhilaration of it and how it's different from driving on the tarmac.
I think what I found most interesting was because I'm so used to driving around the racetrack where you kind of get into a rhythm and do pretty much the same thing. And the first time I drove on ice, I had to experiment a lot, and I'm pretty sure it was the same with you. And it was so much fun because you're now actually, the weird part is your car is pointing in one direction, but you're actually looking out of your window in a completely different direction, and you're doing this for fun, right? So you could drive your car this way and go in a straight line. You didn't have to kind of drive it like you would when you're in competition. So I think just the fact that they put us all against each other, if you remember.
Yes.
They took time, so that after a point it became very competitive. Guys like Dhruv and Suresh and all, they had to win because that's just how they are. But it was a great experience. I'd love to do it again. Would love to actually try different cars. Maybe rear-wheel drive cars on the ice
Yeah.
would be fascinating. Yeah.
I haven't done
Four-wheel
that
drive
either.
cars actually Audis were super easy, I think, because you just end up doing too much for you.
No, but the first time I ever drove on the ice was in a Fiat Linea and the Punto, which was a lot of fun. And also because the Italians are mad, so there was no instruction. There was no like, you know how the Germans are. They'll be all like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, try and do
Exactly.
this. You have to perfect it. Those guys were like, yeah, whatever. They knew we couldn't kill ourselves there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were like,
And you can't damage the car
go
as well. So
backwards, go
do it.
into the snow. Yeah, you can't damage the cars, exactly.
Yeah.
So they couldn't care less, and they were just off having a good time, keeping themselves warm in ways of consuming certain things, and they couldn't be bothered what we were doing. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was the first experience. Of course, we're very like nervous and edgy about it. No
Which
special
year was
tires. This was long back. This was
uh,
easily 12, 12 years ago, I guess. I
yeah, I
don't know.
can
I don't know
imagine
for
if
sure.
Fiat
Yeah.
Punto Linea,
So it was
it's
in
a long time.
Arvidsjaur in Sweden, and then we
How
went
many
back
times have you
to
been to Avid?
4 times, I guess, because once with Fiat, 3 times with Audi, and then the fourth time with Audi was at Finland, the clips that we
Okay.
saw,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
PTA.
one time did a short experience with AMG as well, which was fun, but that
That's
wasn't
a lot of
same
visiting.
Aryaplog, but
Yeah.
that wasn't nearly as expansive because we only had like 2 hours, not like
Oh,
full
okay, okay.
days, and. But
Yeah,
anyway, we are
yeah,
totally digressing and doing our own chit
yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
So, guys, before we run out of time, if any of you have any more questions, then it'll be great. We'd love to take them. There is Karan who says whole racing fraternity in India should come forward and save BIC because of whatever the reasons of it going down are petty politics.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts on BIC? I mean, the current situation. You'd like to see it survive, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we would all love to see it survive. We'd all love to see it around for the years to come. It definitely is something that if it goes away, we probably won't see something like this for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, and it'll definitely, the sport is growing. The enthusiast culture is growing. We're seeing more supercar events. We're seeing more people actually use the BIC now, especially in the last couple of years. So, just to be able to cut it off actually when the culture is growing wouldn't really be nice to see. It would be nice to let it grow naturally the way it is right now, and particularly after this lockdown, I would imagine people would start going to BIC to entertain themselves because they
Yeah.
take their cars, have a great time. You can't really go to a mall or a video game arcade or theater anymore really for a long time because you're going to have to sit in a seat which somebody else sat in before. So I can imagine people would rather take their
Yeah.
cars to BIC and have a good time.
Yeah, we should give BIC this idea. Of course, they don't need our help on that part because I know they do a lot of open track days and things like that.
Yeah.
But interesting, actually, I was talking with the guys there, and yeah, so I think they are gearing up for this opening up of the track. I can't wait to go there myself. It's been more than what 40 days now since I drove. I mean, the only thing I've done is gone down and started the car, made sure it's okay, and come up. Haven't
Yeah, I have to do that for the cars at home as well.
I haven't driven at all. So it's been
Yeah.
40, 45 days now since I've driven. The other thing, there was a nice question about hybrid racing cars. The future of, I think it was Rahul who asked that question. I have lost track of it. But the future of hybrid racing cars specifically. Do you think that that's a thing and it's something you welcome as well because of the extra energy that you get?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with motorsport is very different. There are a lot of people who are, you can call them purists, and they're against hybrid racing. They're against electric cars. But at the end of the day, that is the future, and that is the direction in which it's going to go. Obviously, before it goes fully electric, you're going to see more hybrid racing cars, and we have seen that hybrid racing cars are really really quick and can provide for some super exciting racing, as we've seen in Le Mans.
Yeah.
But it is very expensive, which could prove to be an issue. But it's the same with electric cars as well. I actually raced a very interesting car in 2012. That was the Scirocco Cup in 11 and 12, and that car actually ran on CNG. So you could, when the car was switched on, you could actually sit behind the car, and you wouldn't have exhaust fumes disturbing you. So I could sit and spend my own time in peace behind the car before the race started. So even something like CNG, it gave you the sound, it gave you the performance, and it gave great, entertaining racing. So at the end of the day, this motorsport, as long as you can make great racing, it really doesn't matter. It can go high, it can go electric, but the sport will survive because of the racing entertainment it can provide.
Now, I personally love the idea of hybrid because you still use the big engines and you only
Yeah,
use the electric energy as the additional boost and you get this great amount of
additional
torque.
boost. Yeah,
So for me, it's like a win-win. And, I would actually
yeah, it's
argue in favor of hybrid over even electric because,
over electric.
of course, electric, you get the instant torque too, but that's all you get. You're
Yeah.
not really getting the sound and,
Mm.
nothing like a naturally aspirated engine or even a turbocharged engine for that matter. You remember when we had
Yeah.
the Porsches at the CNB jury meet, the first time they'd gone turbo and we were all skeptically approaching it. They were excellent to drive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I totally accept. Now, we talked about having, this excitement about once lockdown ends to go to a track and drive, but just drive in general. I know that that's something that you and I both love to do. A memorable driving experience, a road trip that you may have taken.
Definitely the most memorable one for me would be Iceland.
Yeah, I have your
It's
pictures.
some
Wait.
of the best roads. Yeah, I sent you some pictures as well from Iceland because it's just some of the best roads I've seen. The day I got there, actually, I'd driven from Reykjavik to a town called Surevik, which was about 800 kilometers away. And most of the drive was at night, so I didn't get to see the road or the scenery around me. It was just pitch dark. But the next morning, we left the house we were staying at. We drove a couple of kilometers, and we were just like, we can't believe we drove through this last night. Just the road, the scenery. You've got the ocean on one side, you've got mountains on one side. And after a point, we realized we hadn't seen a proper tree. It's just shrubs and bushes and no trees. When you think about it, you're used to seeing trees wherever you go.
Yeah.
But in Iceland, we hadn't seen a tree for a long time. So, but as a driving experience, yeah, that country is just something else. It's like another planet altogether.
Now the terrain is incredible. It's volcanic and it's unlike anything else. You're right.
Yeah.
It's really, really. No, these pictures are stunning. I mean, I'm sure you
Mm.
guys will agree that what we just looked at. These are pictures from Aditya's road trip with his friends in Iceland. When was this?
This was 2016, I think.
Okay, so it's been a while. So we should
Yeah.
plan another road trip soon.
We should. I was actually really disappointed because I heard Iceland is one of those places where you don't find too many people. But we had done our entire trip and come back to the south close to Reykjavik, and we were shocked at the number of people that were actually there. We got to this black sand beach, and one of my friends had been there before. He said, "You have to go there. It's like you're in the middle of nowhere. You don't see anybody around, and it's just this big black beach." And we get there, and it was like Chennai's Marina Beach. We were really disappointed by that.
But that's because you were there in the summer, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
we were there in September.
it must have been the time of year when you can go to that beach and really have a nice time. So probably that's why everybody had all of
People
Reykjavik.
were still like really covered in their warm clothing, but they were just there to take pictures and leave, and there's just busloads of people.
Ah, okay. So a lot
Yeah.
of retired
And I
folks
think
and
Iceland Air was doing something, fly to whichever
that's right.
country via Iceland.
You could take a free
So
haul.
yeah, so their tourism really boosted big
Yeah, I
time.
remember seeing that. Iceland Air had that offer.
Yeah.
I, of course, went in the winter, so
Hmm.
it was quite an experience,
Oh, that must have
but
been.
stunning even then. And we never saw people anywhere
I can
except
imagine.
Reykjavik. And even in Reykjavik, you have to kind of like go inside a restaurant or inside a bar or whatever to find people. Because, of course, it's not, I mean, it's what, 300 people, 1,000 people, which is like one locality of Chennai or Delhi or
Yeah.
Bombay. But having
Yeah.
said that, it was the only place where there were people. Everywhere else we
Mhm.
went, it was hardly any people, and drove a fair amount of the country and came back down south. But yeah, I
Yeah,
need
it's
to
a
do
great
this in the
country.
summer.
Great.
Need to do it in the summer because we went to Tenerife for a drive recently with Audi, and again, just
Mhm.
unbelievable terrain. So that's another
Mm.
one, that's
Yeah.
where
I
everybody's
love to go.
appreciating your picks, by the way.
Ah, good.
Say that
It's
again.
actually most of the pics were taken by a friend with his camera, so I should tell him that.
Please compliment him and his camera
Yeah,
then
sure.
from our side. What were you saying? Something you were referring to, and I cut you off.
I would love to go to the Tenerife as well and drive there.
Now, great roads and ridiculous change of elevation, terrain,
Hmm.
topography, even the vegetation. I mean, you're suddenly seeing big cacti, then you're seeing lava
Yeah.
fields, then you're seeing snow, and this is all happening
Hmm.
within the span of an hour. Like you've
That's
just driven
crazy.
around,
Yeah.
and you've gone from thousands of feet high down to below sea level. So it's really crazy. It's
Hmm.
like Death Valley where you're below sea level and
Yeah, I
most of
think I
it.
saw some pictures. I think I may have messaged you as well, asking you where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was incredible. But okay, we've got to wrap this up now. I know I can't just keep you indefinitely. The things that you're looking forward to the most once the lockdown lifts, besides the driving.
Driving.
Option one driving, option two
Uh,
driving, option three driving.
Actually, just getting together with some friends, maybe going and spending time on the beach.
Hmm.
I was actually talking to some friends the other day, and we were just saying that, it'd be great to actually just be able to sit together on a beach and crack open a cold one
Yeah.
and do nothing else.
I think that's what
Something like
most of
that.
us are craving. I mean, the
Yeah.
driving for sure. And
Yeah.
then, in fact, one of the things that I have resisted the urge to do is to go out and drive on these open, empty roads, because I know some of my colleagues have been a
Have been
little
doing that. Yeah.
mischievous about it. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And, I know I can do it. I can use my press credentials and do it. But
Mm.
the point is not to do that, right? Point is to stay
Yeah.
home. So,
Stay home.
so I have been good and I have stayed home. But I am itching to drive now. I really am.
But
So,
we don't
okay.
know, actually. I don't know how long this is going to be, because after tonight's 8 p.m. speech, I'm guessing it's going to extend for a while, because
In some
cases have
places.
been going up quite a bit in the
Yeah.
last couple of days.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that. In the meanwhile, I do want to wish you the very best with all your endeavors, especially what you've been doing from home. I think it's very innovative. Tell me, is it possible? You said you do commentary and stuff. Is it possible to just come and view what's happening, or you have to be participating?
No, it's on YouTube. So we actually have play it on our YouTube channel. We can even play it on your YouTube channel if you want us to. It's quite easy to do.
Okay.
And we just use an app called Discord, and we jump onto what we have named the commentary box, and we do our commentary through there.
And who's we? So is it you and
So
Arman
Arman and I
and
do the commentary
yeah?
with a couple of other kids who are helping us.
Okay. No, no, let's do it. I mean, I'm sure all these guys who are watching would like to see that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people are, I think, in agreement. Music to my ears, says Karan. So, yeah, let's do it.
Good.
I think it'll be
Let's
fun.
do it.
And that's the thing. I think I always absolutely love about you that anything you throw at you, you're always like, yeah, let's do it. You know, you never once said no to anything. We've taken
Mm.
advantage of that heavily, but no, it's been incredible. And I think I can't thank you enough for coming on to the show today as well. It's been
No, I have to thank you for letting me be on your show.
no, come on.
It's
It's
always a
been
pleasure.
it's mine, and I have to say that we look forward to everything that comes from you, because what I also will tell everybody who's watching, and not just because I'm trying to praise you, is because not only are you really quick around track, you know what you're doing when you're behind the wheel, but you're also like a thinking driver and racer. So it's great to see how you are sort of being able to take that into new areas as well, which entertain, educate, bring around awareness. So that's, I mean, hats off to you, really.
Thanks, Sid.
No, this is fun, and we'll do it again soon,
Yep,
I'm sure.
for sure.
Thank you again for being here, and all the very best with everything that's coming, and especially now, of course, stay safe. Even once things start to open up, please stay safe.
Yep, thanks. And I think that's a message for everyone as well. Stay safe, stay indoors.
Absolutely. Okay, signing off then. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you, Sid.
And give
Thanks
my
for
regards to your
having me.
folks again, and thank your dad for dropping in.
I will. I will.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. That was Aditya Patel, ace racer, CNB juror, of course, as we know him. And then, he's also now, you can call him an entrepreneur. He's a builder of ideas. And you can see that he's kept himself busy in the most productive of ways during the lockdown, because he has stayed true to the sport that he loves and has carried on taking that to a lot more people. There's lots of you who wrote in with questions, and we try to take some of them, of course, as we always do. So thank you for that. Lots of you have been participating in our contest as well. So, again, thank you for that, because it's been great to see the participation from your side. And we have to declare a winner. Yes, the contest has been on now for a few weeks. So I think we've declared winners for 2 weeks. But now I need to tell you the winner for week 3. So let me find that placard. Okay, and are you ready? Where is that drum roll thing? Let me see if I can find that. Is this, well, it's not really a drum roll, but let's go with this. And there you go. The winner is Harish Reddy from Raipur. This is the episode we had with Pratap Bose. So the questions, of course, were about Tata Motors. And congratulations, Harish. Very, very nice to know that you have won. And we will soon be getting in touch with you as far as your prizes are concerned. For those of you who don't remember or have forgotten our contest, it's still very much on and you can still very much participate. And so here's the reminder.
Log on to carandbike.com/freewheeling and answer a simple question. 3 lucky winners win a 2-night 3-day stay at any domestic Club Mahindra resort. Not just that, at the end of the month, all correct entries are eligible for the grand prize of an all-expense-paid 3-night 4-day trip to Dubai or Singapore. So, keep freewheeling. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so that's how you participate in our contest, and you can go to carandbike.com/freewheeling and enter the contest over there, because we still have to do that monthly prize winner. Remember, someone wins the trip overseas, so there is that to look forward to. And yes, we've got still more interesting guests coming your way, which is what you're hearing right now, I think. I will play that for you as I say goodbye, because of course I will leave you with our next guest who will be on the show in a couple of days. So with that, it's time for me to sign off. It's been a longish show. We've always go over an hour and we've done it again. Thank you so much for joining. Please stay safe. Please only step out if you must. If you are back at work as part of some of the opening up that has happened, please wear your seatbelts and please wear your masks. That goes without saying. So it's bye-bye from me, and I will leave you, like I said, with who is coming up next here on Freewheeling. Thanks for watching.